are listening to the most comprehensive paranormal archive on the internet.
Welcome to Salsido Paranormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I'm sharing experiences, true paranormal stories from the web. As always, you can find everything related to the podcast at the website, and that is salsidoparanormal.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.com. And that includes links to all the episodes, social media, ways to listen, and ways to support the show, and friends of the show. And that includes Jen, the Arcane Observer, who has her own channel, and is the co-host of this show on Saturdays whenever she can join me. And so getting back to these experiences here, we will continue on with that. Thank you all for being here and listening in, however you're able to do that. So this next one has some store names, and they're kind of relevant to the experience. So I'm going to leave them in here, even though I normally don't like to, because there's just too many. But this one says, I'm not sure what to make of this. It's been on my mind for almost a year now, and the only explanation I can think of is that I've switched timelines or something like that after my mom's cousin died. Before my mom's cousin, who I'm going to call M for the sake of convenience, not her real name, by the way, passed away, my mom and I I'll go with her on long shopping trips out of town. One of the towns we frequented had a Walmart, and next to that there was a small shopping center that had a dollar store, a video game store, a suntan place, and a few other stores. M used to make wreaths for different holidays with fake flowers and ribbons. And I would always go into the dollar store with her when she'd go to pick out ribbons and decorations for those wreaths. During one of these shopping trips, I remember asking if I could go into the game store, as it wasn't too long after my 16th birthday, and I wanted to spend my birthday money on trading card merchandise. So M went in with me while my mom waited in the car, and I bought a set of anime socks instead of the merch because I couldn't afford any of the other stuff I wanted. I still have a pair of those socks somewhere. I didn't go into that game store again, into that game store since then, but I would stare at it whenever we'd drive past it. And it was there until last year when M unexpectedly passed away. And it was just gone. At first I thought they had just closed it or something, until I brought it up to my mom, and she insisted it was never there in the first place. So I looked it up online thinking she was wrong, and there's literally no trace of it ever existing. Ever. Not only that, but there's other things that are different as well, such as entire events with my friends that we all remember, with suddenly no trace of ever happening. Entire movies, videos, online channels I know I've watched that apparently never existed. Entire chapters in books that are completely different from how me and others distinctly remember. Objects I know for a fact I own seemingly having disappeared out of nowhere, or even old objects I lost or donated years ago randomly appearing out of nowhere. And that's where that one ends. The media, the TV, and the books, and there's so much that could go on there that could be changed intentionally by living people over time here that I can't say that's all anything anomalous, that's all the signs. I mean, it could still be, but just going with the what could also be happening, that stuff could be just things that have been changed over time through normal processes. Not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing, I guess, but those things happen. But when you have places that supposedly never existed, uh, that's fascinating. Or objects vanishing and appearing. The fact that the mom said that was never there, the fact that the writer could not find it, any evidence of it being there, it does make me wonder: did they sort of somehow switch between universes somehow? And this is something that is not it's not a one-off thing. There are entire, again, forums and accounts of this thing seeming to happen. So, and I've had experiences only in dreams, luckily so far, where I visited other versions of this reality. And so I can't rule any of this stuff out. My own experiences or this person's experience with that store. And I feel like I've come across and maybe shared similar accounts on this show before too. So really is fascinating. It's the timing is odd with it happening after their friend, their mom's friend, passing away. Could just be, I don't know. Could be a connection, could be not. I'm not sure. But moving on to the next one here. This one says, I've never really talked about this publicly because I know how unbelievable it sounds. After I got married, the strange activity in our home became much more intense. One night around 1:30 a.m., I woke up from a disturbing dream. My wife woke up too and asked what was wrong, but I told her it was nothing and asked her to go back to sleep. The next night, she had the exact same dream. The following morning, she mentioned it to our neighbor. When I later spoke with the neighbor, I realized we had all been talking about the same thing. I asked my wife to describe every detail without interrupting her. She said she saw an elderly man who was around 9 or 10 feet tall standing outside our house. Beside him was a woman with bright red eyes. Both of them were trying to get inside but couldn't. The strange part is that before all this happened, we had performed a religious ritual that was supposed to protect our home from negative spiritual influences. In the dream, they never crossed the doorway. They just stood outside, as if something was preventing them from entering. This was only one of many experiences my family and I went through over a 12-year period. I'm finally writing everything down because I still don't have answers. Has anyone experienced recurring dreams that multiple people shared? Or anything similar? I genuinely, wow, I can't talk today, like to hear your thoughts. And that's where that one ends. That is fascinating, as I hit the table with my hand. Anyway, the people having the same dream, seeing the same figures, and I do think that sleeping and dreaming, that can be a nexus or a gateway to other dimensions and a way to connect, either intentionally or not, with other beings. And so it could be that the situation was exactly like they thought it was, or they described, after they all realized they were having the same dream, where whoever or whatever these beings were, because of the whatever ceremony or practice that was done in the house, they could not get in. Part of me also wonders too, though. I don't know. It just, did it work? And did they were they there because they didn't want to get in? Did they want to get in because they were looking for some kind of shelter. Were they negative? I don't know. There's no outward actions that they did that directly seem negative, but again, not having had the experience or having seen or sensed them, I can't say that they were or they weren't. But yeah, so that's fascinating. I never really had that experience, but I've heard of it here and there, and don't doubt it. But I had a lot of other odd experiences with my dreams, and I think I've covered them pretty well on previous shows, so I won't go into all that right now. But moving forward here, this next one says, how many of you were the creepy kid? I saw a lot of adults online saying, my kid said this or did this. It was creepy. Must be related to the paranormal. I was a kid like that would talk with people only I saw. Especially one guy, and my memories with him are so vivid, it's hard to believe that someone I knew and saw every day for 10 years was never real. For 10 years, I obsessed over him as he was the only real friend I had. He appeared when I was 3 and vanished when someone told me this guy never existed, only appearing during my frequent sleep paralysis. And I'll be honest with you all, I don't think there is anything paranormal about it. I think it's what we call an imaginary friend. You believe it so strongly that the line between reality and imagination ends up blurring. So I was wondering who else was labeled as the creepy kid back then and why. And that's where that one ends. That was on a forum, so they were asking a question there. And yeah, I wonder if it was some kind of a thought form again. And once they were told that this didn't exist, maybe it hadn't been established that strongly yet, even though it seemed like it. And so this person didn't see this figure again after they were told that. Or it could have been some kind of apparition, and it just decided to go when they sensed sort of that this person didn't believe in them anymore or didn't want any more contact with them. It's kind of concerning in a way that they saw them during sleep paralysis, kind of. But also, if nothing negative ever happened, then I don't know. And if it was, I don't know, if it was every time they had sleep paralysis, they saw this figure and never any other time, that's kind of weird. So that is a fascinating set of experiences there. I have heard of accounts of people, parents thinking that their kids had imaginary friends only to have things happen, objects move, or either in plain sight or objects that the kid couldn't move themselves, only to figure out that possibly there was a ghost there instead. So I've heard of that as well. So the whole imaginary friend connection to the paranormal is very much a thing, and is very, I think it's complex, as I've described here between that post and then what everything else I've heard. There's different ways things can play out with this. So moving on to the next one here. This one says, oops, once I scroll down. There we go. I recently went to Vicksburg, Mississippi, to see the Civil War battlefield arc. I don't really believe in ghosts, and I still don't know what I saw. I didn't see the ghost of a soldier. If I saw that, I'd known what I saw. I was walking through the old graveyard portion of the park when I saw something white and almost barely sheer. I don't know if they mean there or if they mean sheer, I'm not sure. It wasn't in the form of anything, just a big wavy mass I saw out of the corner of my eye. Like I said, I don't know what I saw. For all I know, it could have been something in my eye or my eyelash. Do ghosts like I describe even exist? I just know it spooked me, and I quickly walked out of the cemetery and the graveyard. And that's where that one ends. I don't think there's a limit to how anomalous apparitions can appear. Um, so I can't say that they couldn't appear that way. And the fact that they got the creeps makes me wonder, were they picking up on something, even if they didn't realize it? And that's why they were creeped out. If they felt like it was something in their eye or their eyelash, you would think they wouldn't get creeped out, unless, I guess, technically, maybe it's possible that the setting. But see, if they didn't believe in ghosts, then why would they? So I'm not sure with that one. It could have been an apparition of some kind, or just a mass of energy that looked like it was, or light that looked like it was big enough to be possibly an apparition, but it was just some kind of light or energy waves in one spot. I'm guessing they didn't see it when they looked away or looked. They didn't say they looked right at it, so yeah, not sure what to make of that one. But if it was in a cemetery or graveyard, then that can also lead to some possibilities as well. Not that all graveyards or cemeteries are the same or have activity, but many seem to. Moving on to the next one here. This one says, I was laying in bed the other night at around 4 a.m., and I was almost asleep when I got the feeling on the back of my neck like someone was blowing air on it. I wouldn't have paid attention to it, but I touched the back of my neck, and it felt cold to the touch, even though I was under a comforter. I normally sleep with my window open, but I closed it because I kept being woken up by these loud birds, and there was no breeze that night. My air conditioner vent is beneath my bed, so there was no way something could have reached me all the way in the corner. I've had strange experiences before, but never anything that physically affected me. And that's where that one ends. So I've heard of winds or breaths before. People getting that feeling of there's someone breathing on the back of their head or their neck, and I've also heard of just winds or breezes in places where people have checked for air movement and couldn't find anything. I wonder if that's an easier way. In some cases, I don't know, because it's movement of air. But I guess possibly an easier way to try to make contact for whatever the reason may be. I'm not sure. But yeah, so that's a fascinating one there. So we will get to this next one here. This one says, so I am not superstitious or a big believer in hauntings. I have an open mind and I listen to people with more experience than me, however. Yesterday, I facilitated a gathering of around 60 people. We were celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day, and we had a number of workshops planned, including a man making medicine pouches and doing sage and cedar energy brushings. When we all arrived to get set up for the day, we discovered a white, fluffy taxidermy cat glued to the bottom of a shallow box. The box was left on the sidewalk beside our community hall, under a set of windows. We have no security cameras. We knew it was taxidermy as we could see the stitching, and it was not well done. It was also very light, not the correct weight you'd expect an actual deceased animal to be. Of course, we were all confused, spooked, and alarmed. We live 35 minutes down a gravel road from the nearest town. Either someone brought it out specifically, or someone local put it there. There are only 40 people living in this community, and we know each other very well. Excuse me. Okay, so that was just an odd thing. What happened after is the stranger part. I was the main facilitator for the day, and no one knew what to do with it, with the cat, I guess, or the piece, whatever you want to call it. I don't even know if it was really a cat. So I decided to place the box in a black garbage bag and put it in my truck. Our plan was to make a small fire later in the day to dispose of it. I didn't feel that it should be just put into a garbage can, and it was a bit big to fit in any of the bins we had at the hall anyway. I left my purse in the truck to keep it safe, so the windows were up and it was locked. A few hours later, I went to get something from my purse and found that all the windows of my truck were rolled down. I'm the only person with a key fob, and it was in my jacket pocket. This has never happened before. The doors were also unlocked. My key fob does not have an option to remotely open all the windows. My purse was still sitting there, thankfully. But like I mentioned, we are a small community, so I wouldn't really expect a thief. I was spooked, but went around to the driver's side, pushed the start key, and rolled up all the windows. Then I turned off the auxiliary power and pushed the button to lock the truck back up. It wouldn't lock. I tried multiple times. So I went to the guy doing medicine bags and brushings, and we discussed the situation. We moved the cat out, and our facilities manager was doing a garbage run to the bigger bin, so we took the bag. The medicine man used his sage and the eagle feather to do a full sweep of the inside of my truck, and me as well. Once he was finished, I closed the truck doors and used the key to lock it. It worked. And that's where that one ends. That sounds like some kind of, I don't know, object with energy attached to it. I don't know if there was intent by the person that placed it there or not, but it seems like there was something attached to that object, and it may have affected the vehicle in some way. And yeah, that's quite the experience there to have had. And that is all the time we're going to have for this episode. I don't think we have enough time, less than a minute here, to read another one. This one is too long to do that. So I do believe objects can have energy and can affect things, and especially if they're made for that. But I also don't know if they always have to be. But I do think in some cases they can be. That sounds like a creepy situation all around. I'm glad that they were able to deal with that, and yeah, that's fascinating though. I've heard of similar accounts of objects having effects on places or people or objects around them. But that's all the time we have for this show. Thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you all next time on Salsido Paranormal. Take care.